In Jenin, an escape in silence amid armor and ambulances. These civilians are fleeing the outskirts of a refugee camp that's under assault from the Israeli military. Most of the camp's 18,000 residents have already left. For Maysoon, long used to Israeli raids, this is by far the worst.
I was shocked by the magnitude of destruction in the Jenin camp. It's very sad. Total destruction. I was pushed away from outside Jenin. I came here today to see my house and take stock of the damage, but I couldn't. The ruins and bits of metal have piled up. I couldn't get into my house and see what state it's in.
Suddenly, around 15 military vehicles pull up.
They've put a blockade in place. Medical teams and civilians aren't authorized to get through. The inability to get to the hospital and the camp headquarters is making the humanitarian situation worse and worse. People's basic needs, in particular the aged, children and the sick, are becoming increasingly urgent.
On the other side of the camp, children are watching a raid on their district at a distance. Columns of smoke are rising from certain buildings. We're able to approach, at least briefly. This isn't the most exposed zone, but several buildings are still specifically targeted. This one is little more than ruins and rubble, and inside the stairwell has collapsed. Its owner admits that his sons belong to local armed groups.
They spoke over a loudspeaker. They said, "Evacuate the house, you have 10 minutes before we blow it up." Everyone's against us. The Palestinian Authority, they've destroyed us. They're the ones who gave the Jews intelligence about my building.
Residents are angry with the Palestinian Authority. For 47 days, Mahmoud Abbas's men were in open conflict with the Jenin brigades. They said the latter were outside the law, responsible for attacks on Israel and the severity of Israeli repression. This footage was shot at the time. We met this combatant who put aside his weapon long enough to explain his reasons for fighting.
The camp has a long history which goes back over 40 years. It isn't new. They first tried to invade in 2002, then again in 2006, and again in 2012. The Jews come and fight inside the camp. And where does it get them? Nowhere. The resistance is here, it's entrenched, and always visible.
We leave Jenin for this village. It's 4 kilometers away from the main combat zone. Here too, the Israeli operation left a victim in its wake. On January 25th at 8 p.m., the Israeli army opened fire on this building, saying it was targeting several armed fighters. However, a 2.5-year-old toddler ended up shot in the head. Her name was Layla Al-Khatib.
This is Layla. When she saw me studying, she took my place on the chair to copy me. I ended up ordering a laptop for the children with the dinosaur game. I'll receive it, but Layla isn't with us anymore. They opened fire from there, and they came in through here. There were bits of wooden debris. My little girl was just here. Her aunt and I were carrying her, and suddenly she started crying and started to bleed. My pajamas were covered with blood, my clothes too. I didn't think she could live. Here on the towel, that's her blood.
For all the buildings they surround, the first thing to do is evacuate the civilians, to protect them and get them to safety. But this procedure wasn't followed. The soldier opened fire on us without justification, without his life being in danger. And I have as proof that when I went out carrying a little girl, I started screaming at them, saying, "Why did you kill this child?" The soldier said, "I'm sorry." I told him, "What? You're sorry? The little one's blood is pouring out."
When contacted, the Israeli military said it regretted any harm done to innocent civilians. saying it ensured calls to evacuate were given over loudspeaker. Like in Gaza, children are the first to suffer the fallout from the violence of war. At this centre for the displaced in Jenin, the Palestinian Red Crescent is trying to give them a moment of respite.
Adults can express their emotions, their fear and anger, but children keep that anger and fear inside, and that ultimately affects their health. That's why by playing or drawing, they can express their emotions.
These children are waiting with the hope of going back to their homes in the camp. But as combat in Jenin continues unabated, any return seems further away than ever.